Question 3B. Okay, I'm going to turn the table into this form. Okay, if you don't mind, you turn to page 171, example 5. Example 5. You look at example 5, page 171, example 5. So now instead of put the table into the range in inequality form, I'm going to put it as class form. So I'm going to put it as this is the height in cm. So I'm going to put it as 120 to 129. Can or not? Because 130 is not included. So I just assume the class range from that. So what is the class size for this? May I know? 5 or 10? 10. Okay, so why I want to put it like that? Because if I want to key in the calculator, I have to find the midpoint. I have to find the midpoint, understand? So I have to find the midpoint. So how to find the midpoint? How to find the midpoint? Add up, divide by 2, middle. So 120 plus 129 divide by 2. That is how you find the midpoint. That is in page 171. You get me? Okay. So you get the midpoint. Yeah. So you want the, okay. Draw appropriate. Oh, this one is to draw the graph. Huh? So if you want to draw the graph, you use, because in our graphic calculator, we can't draw with range, correct? We only can draw with a specific point. That's why we use a midpoint. And that will help us to calculate get the what? Later, get the mean as well, correct? So midpoint, you use a midpoint. Okay, so what is a midpoint? 124.5. Am I right? So 124.5. Okay, the frequency is 1. So that means when I put 124.5, I assume there is one data, the value is 124.5. Assume. Why I say assume? Why I use the word assume? Why I use the word assume? Why I don't say there is one data, the value is 124.5? Why I use the word assume? Because use mean, do I know exactly how many data is 120? But I know within 120 to 129, there is one data of that within that value. But what is the value of the data? Do I know? I don't know. That's why I assume the data, the value is 124.5. So when you have a group data, this is called group, you group them together into one range. Okay, so we call this a group data. Okay, when you have a group data, you don't know exactly how many is 120, how many is 121, how many is 123, and so on and so forth. Understand? So we have to make that kind of assumption. So when you do your folio later in September, this is one of the assumptions you make. If you have a lot of data, you are not going to list out all the 100. You are going to put them into groups so that people can see it clearly. So you make an assumption when you count the mean, you assume. So this is the one assumption that you can write down when you write your report later on. Because in your report, you have to write assumption and limitation. So this is one of the assumptions. You please jot down. I'm not going to repeat all this assumption. When you collect data, what are the assumptions that you make? Or you get the secondary data people give you in group already, correct? So you say you make the assumption when you count the mean. Are you clear? Okay. And I told you also, sample, why we take sample? Why we take sample? Yeah, because population is too large. So we have that kind of limitation. So this is called the limitation. You are limited with time. You are limited with resources, correct? It's impossible for you to cover the whole population. If I can, why don't I cover the whole population? That my finding will be more accurate. Are you clear? Okay. So through Avika question, I give you two very important points when you write your report. So from now onward, anything that we discuss, you try to think of what are the assumptions that we make, what are the limitations that we have. Okay, so you got all the midpoint, then you plot the graph, you use the midpoint against frequency, then you can plot any graph you like. Are you clear? Okay, I answer your questions. Okay, so anything else? Anything else? No, okay. Clear with the symbol? Okay, now. Another important calculation that we get is called the median, correct? In the exam question, will I ask you for median? Will I ask find the median? Definitely I won't. How will I phrase the question? How will I phrase the question? Whereby I will not say the word median. You want to do well in statistics, you must be able to phrase the question. Yesterday also I got mentioned. How should I phrase the question? Kavan, any idea? I want to give two examples, two set of values of mean, standard mean, and median. And I want you to imagine how is these two set of data look like. You don't have the value of the data. Okay? Yeah. So set A. You can imagine as this is the class mark for class A. Okay. The expected value or the mean for this class is 28. Okay. Okay. Both class has 20 students. Okay. So the median is equal to 25. For example, only just example. And the mode is 22. Okay, I have another class. Okay, called set B. Okay, also 20 students. Just example only. Okay, in this class, I have the expected mark. That is the mean mark for this class is 21. Okay, the median mark is 27. Okay, the mode is 28. For example, only, just for example. Okay, now, can you ask yourself why the mean of set A is higher than the median? What causes the mean of the set A is higher than its median? And what causes the mean of set B lower than the median? I know there are 10 students get lower than 25. There are 10 students get more than 25. For the other one, there are 10 students get more than 27. There are 10 students get less than 27. Am I right? That is the meaning of median. But why? The mean for set A is higher. The mean for set B is lower. How do you get the mean? You get the mean by using this, am I right? What pull the mean of set A up? What pull the mean of the set B down? Like for example, okay, if you can't, let me show you some example. Okay, this is world example or Malaysia example. How many people in Malaysia like, okay, they have their income per month more than 30,000? Many? No. No, correct? More than 30,000, 40,000, that kind of thing. No, correct? So if we count the mean income, like for example, we say the mean income of Malaysian, the mean income for Malaysian per household, okay, for example, is 3,000. What causes the mean income to be very high? If you really go and see, you can practically see in all the kampong people, correct? Their mean income is not. Their income is much, much less than 30,000, 3,000 per month. So what causes that? Because the distribution is what? Extreme positive value, extreme, there are a few extreme very high value. The rest of them are cluttered around 2,000, 3,000, that part. They are extreme, all right? So it pull the mean up. So that means this is our distribution, we call it skewed right. Are you clear? Because you have extreme positive value, bigger value, extreme bigger value. So the distribution will be like that. We got here. So it pull the mean up. And the median is here. Are you clear? So this is called positively skewed. When you have the mean greater than the median, we call it positively skewed. If the mean is almost the same as the median, we call it symmetrical. The distribution is symmetrical. So whether to know the distribution is positively skewed or negatively skewed, you compare the mean and the median. If the mean, you got extreme positive value, bigger value, so it pull the mean up. So that's why we call it positively skewed. So you can see this in where? Mana? You didn't read page 162. Are you clear? So one of the very good example is monthly income. It's definitely positively skewed. Okay. And if the mean is less than the median, that means those 10 people who got less than 27, correct? They got very low value. So that's why this is negatively skewed. The negative tail is very long. So this is called negatively skewed. Or we call it skewed left, also can. See or not? Hello? The mode always is the highest value. Paham? Whether it's positively skewed, if talking about teaching in a class, positively skewed or negatively skewed, right? Both are very difficult to teach. Do you know why? Symmetrical is the best for the teacher. Do you know why? Positively skewed is very difficult to teach. I cannot focus on this area. Because if I focus on this area, I teach to a certain extent, all these good ones, they will complain. They will complain what? Mr. always set very easy question, not challenging. All right? No, I'm just telling you. So it's very difficult for us to cater. Okay, if it's negatively skewed, all right? This area, I concentrate on this area. This area, the people will say, I always set question very difficult. I don't even understand what is she talking about. So you see the dilemma of a teacher. I'm just telling you. You think that be a teacher is something that is very easy. You haven't seen yet. You get what I mean? Okay, these are the situation. So in life, it's like that. Nothing is unfair. So you want to complain also, I cannot do anything. I've tried my best. Okay? So are you clear? Understand what is positively skewed, what is negatively skewed? How we compare? We compare the value of the mean and the median. Hello? And if the mean and the median, they are the same, we call it symmetrical. Is it possible to have two modes in the one? The answer is a yes. Correct? You know. Okay. So two ham. There's 1 year, Salesforce show us the distribution of the mark. The distribution of the mark, right? They say we have two groups. One is the one with the A. Then B, very few. Then C, a lot. And today, when I mark my February intake, correct, I see that trend. Student who got B, correct, out of 30 students, correct, I only have 2 got B. A, one side, C, one side. Macam mana? How? So you see, the reason is because those who have very good foundation of maths, right, you can do. Those who don't have, right, they totally give up. Even I go through slowly, I tell you, they totally give up. Product rule, I spell out clearly one by one. When I mark the paper, right, I really don't know what our rule are they using. Okay, never mind. Done, huh? Okay, so you know what is mean, what is median, what is skewed. Okay, so please do exercise. So today I want to get into the next one, the last part. What is the last part? Nick, apa itu last part for this chapter? Okay, variant. Okay, I'm not interested in variant. I'm interested in standard deviation. Okay, so this is the standard deviation formula for the population. Population standard deviation is square root of okay? Am I right? And for the sample, you use like that. You see, the way I write the mean is different symbol, and they put it n minus 1. So there is a bit of difference with the formula. Why is it like that? I believe that, okay, I try to find a reason from the internet. I try to Google why for sample, okay, standard deviation, it is n minus 1 and not n. I believe that because sample is part of the population. So they expect the spread to be bigger. So they divide by a smaller number. N minus 1 is smaller than n, correct? So when you divide by a smaller number, the spread is bigger. That is the only reason I can think of. Okay, now, what is the meaning of standard deviation? You better write down by yourself. It's not in your book, definitely, I tell you. Okay, standard deviation of whether a sample or the population. Okay, in real life population standard deviation, definitely we can't find. Am I right? Okay, is the average difference between the data and the mean. So that is called the standard deviation. That's why you got sum up and divide by n, correct? It looks like average, am I right? Okay, now, if you have a look at the data, there are some more than the mean, there are some less than the mean, am I right? So if I say difference, I always have to take the bigger one minus the smaller one, am I right? But if according to the formula, I take the data minus the mean. So that means if I take this, the data minus the mean, this is not called the difference. I have to know the value of the data. So that means I will get some, if I literally take this one, some will be more than 0 and some will be less than 0, correct? If I just sum each of them up, at the end, what will I get? Some is positive, some is negative. At the end, what will I get? 0. So they want to overcome that, they square it first. So variance actually is to overcome the sign. So actually variance has no meaning. So in the exam, we usually won't ask you to find the variance. Variance is just without the square root. That's it. Are you clear? So, and in the exam, we won't ask you to find the standard deviation. How we will ask you to find? You see, when you say standard deviation, deviate from where? Deviate from where? Deviate from where? From the mean, because you minus the mean, am I right? So we will ask you to find the spread of the data from the mean, if we want to be very accurate. So we want to ask you to find the standard deviation. We ask you to find the spread of the data from the mean. So standard deviation is one of the way to find the spread. Range is another one. Range, you take the highest minus the lowest. But when you talk about standard deviation, you take every single data into consideration. When you take the range, you only take the two extreme value. When you take inter-quarter range, you only take the first quarter value and the third quarter value. So standard deviation is the best judgment because you take every data into consideration to find the spread. Are you clear? Hello? Can I not? So what is standard deviation? Standard deviation is the average difference between the data and the mean. So we say the spread from the mean. Clear cut? Okay, so you know. So if okay, so what does standard deviation tell us if you are a science student? If you are a science student, in what situation you need to count the standard deviation? Anyone take physics here? Form 5? Semua tak berani cakap. Semua ambil fizik. Form 4, first chapter of physics. You didn't take physics, you take science or not? Accuracy, sensitivity, consistency. 3 perkataan itu tahu maksud dia. Kejituan, kepekaan. Consistency kau what? Consistent. How to? So I ask you, standard deviation show which one? Ni habis terus. Yes. If your standard deviation is small, that means your consistency is high. Like for example, I take 10 tests. Correct? Yeah. My standard deviation is 1 mark. Okay. And my mean is 5 marks. So I'm very consistent. I consistently fail. Consistent or not? Consistent. Hello? So you see how maths is related to science? Okay, Cindy, you want to teach a class with the same mean, the class A and class B, both have the same mean. But one with a high standard deviation, the other one with the low standard deviation. Which class you choose? Class A or class B? Okay, I write down. Ini PK, mana saya punya pen? Okay, class A. Now I let you become a teacher. Class B. Okay, the mean mark is 20. Both also got mean mark 20. Okay, the standard deviation for class A is 10. The standard deviation for apa ini? The standard deviation for class B is 2. Okay. Cindy, which class do you choose to teach? Class A. A. Kevin? You choose B. Siti? A. B. Nor Amira. B. Which one you choose? B also. Okay, those choose B, you give me a reason. their understanding almost the same. Yes, because the mark spread is smaller. So they are of all of the same ability. Haoshen, which one you choose? B. So you ask yourself, Haoshen, your class is A, look like class A or class B?
How can I say?
You say, no, you look lah. You should know what. Why I teach you? You tell me, no, you observe.
You can investigate more accurately.
What do you mean I can investigate more accurately? So do you know now why people want the kind of standard deviation when you count? You compare between subject. You compare between subjects. That's why when you talk about your ATA, correct? ATA ranking, correct? ATA ranking, the grade that you get. If the paper is difficult, you don't have to worry. Why? Because you are count by ranking. You are not count by the mark. Do you get me? So that's why we need to get the standard deviation. We need to get the mean. That's why any parents, last time got parents-teacher meeting, correct? They always scold the children. Why your EAL can get so high? Why your maths cannot get? Why your maths mark so low? Do you know how I, as a maths teacher, how I answer? I said, yeah, let's look. The mean mark for EAL, the mean mark for maths first. Then we look at the standard deviation first. Then only we score our children. What the? How can you compare the raw mark between two different subjects and you start to score the child? Am I right? Am I right? So that is why statistics is so important. The understanding of each value that you count in the statistics is so important. Get me? Okay. So on that note, do you know I completed this chapter? So you still got 2 lessons with me, huh? You better go back and do some homework, huh? If not, tomorrow come, Friday come. Okay. Are you clear? So that after holiday, we can straight away zoom into our SAT finding. SAT 5, I will not ask you this type of thing. SAT 5 is chapter 7 and chapter 8, but a lot of concept is tapped on chapter 6. The understanding of mean, median, mode, and standard deviation. Faham? Boleh? Okay, thank you. Huh?